Donald Trump's legal battles are escalating. The clash over those controversial deportation flights may be headed to the Supreme Court. Trump has asked the justices to greenlight deportations under the Wartime Alien Enemies Act. We'll have more on that later this hour. But first, two more law firms are fighting back against the president in his legal vengeance tour. Jenner & Block and WilmerHale are suing to stop executive orders aimed at hindering their ability to represent clients. The executive order would strip lawyers at both firms of security clearances and bar them from entering federal buildings. The firms are being targeted for their civil rights and immigration pro bono work, as well as their ties to special counsel Robert Mueller, who led the Russia investigation during Trump's first term. Jenner & Block called Trump's order, quote, an unconstitutional abuse of power. And according to the New York Times, a, quote, split is emerging among big law firms, with some firms fighting back while others are bending the knee to Trump. Today, Trump announced a quote-unquote deal with top law firm Skadden Arps. The administration had not issued an executive order targeting that firm, but the New York-based firm nonetheless entered into what the president called a settlement, in which it agreed to undertake $1 million in pro bono work on behalf of causes aligned with the administration.
We appreciate Skadden's coming to the table. As you know, other law firms have likewise settled the case, and it's a shame. What's gone on is a shame, but we very much appreciate their coming to the table.
Trump knows exactly what he's doing. He is weaponizing his executive power to target law firms that he views as enemies. And that might be in a position to underwrite challenges to the administration going forward. Not only do these law firms undertake their own pro bono work that often challenges the government, they also critically assist nonprofit groups that do the same. These executive orders are aimed at silencing law firms and, in the process, cutting off much-needed avenues of support to nonprofits that are challenging the administration. Trump is also exercising his muscular vision of executive power in the immigration space. He is preying on the vulnerable non-citizens to make a statement. ICE has continued its crackdown on college campuses. Just moments ago, a judge blocked the government from deporting Tufts University PhD student Rumeysa Öztürk, a Turkish national, after this disturbing video showing her arrest sparked outrage. DHS, she alleged, engaged in activities in support of Hamas. So far, we have not seen any evidence of that. What we do know is that Öztürk co-wrote an op-ed criticizing the university's response to student protests and demanding its divestment from Israel. All of this comes on the heels of a judge ruling the Trump administration must stop its efforts to deport a Columbia student who participated in pro-Palestinian demonstrations. The record here shows that the Trump administration is losing. In the courts this week alone, he has seen exponentially more losses than wins.
Congressman, you are well acquainted with this president's efforts to dismantle the rule of law, these lawsuits against 4 different law firms. What does that tell you about where we are in that process of dismantling the system?
They think they can bulldoze the government and seize control over society by dismantling the lawyers for their opposition. That's in naked violation of the First Amendment. It's in brutal violation of the due process rights of people who appear in court. And I just cannot imagine even a Trump favorable court allowing this to go forward. I mean, that really spells the end of the rule of law. If the president can target lawyers simply because they've represented his political opponents and then ban them from federal buildings, ban federal officers from meeting with them, lock them out of federal contracts, that's just naked and unconstitutional First Amendment retaliation.
You have Judge Beryl Howell accusing the Trump administration of attacking the judiciary in her ruling on Perkins Coie. Here is how Pam Bondi responded just last night.
Many judges need to be removed, Judge Howell included, Judge Reyes, Judge Boasberg. These judges obviously cannot be impartial. They cannot be objective. They are district judges trying to control our entire country, and they're trying to obstruct Donald Trump's agenda.
Remove the attorneys, remove the judges, and then you have the Speaker of the House acting like her backup singer, saying much the same about federal judges. What role is Congress supposed to be playing in acting as a backstop to these efforts to undercut the judiciary?
Well, I mean, look how sick that is. Basically, anybody who has rendered any ruling they disapprove of, they think should be removed from the bench. Any lawyer who's ever represented a party adverse to them, they think should be cleared out of the way. I mean, that is in naked opposition to the rule of law. So, look, I'm the ranking Democrat on the House Judiciary Committee. The Judiciary Committee Democrats, the Democrats in the House are unified in standing up for the independence of the judiciary, the separation of powers, and the constitutional order as we've known it. I wonder if Attorney General Bondi could name one judge who she doesn't think should be removed, who's ruled against one of Trump's executive orders or one of the lawless actions undertaken by Elon Musk. And they can't say it. Basically, they believe if they disagree with someone or something, that person should be rendered illegal, a legal non-entity.
Their purview is very clear, right? I mean, I get the Congressman's point. You could ask them that question. I think we can anticipate the answer. Can you help me understand why these different firms are taking different tacks and how much of it? I know you referenced the possibility of this going to the appeals court, but how much of it do you think it has to do with the clientele that they represent?
Oh, 100%. And again, Trump's genius in this, or the genius of the White House on this, is that they understand what we see as these institutions that are bulwarks in the judicial and legal establishment, they see as businesses. Trump understands that if you take away, it's like a Jenga tower, if you take away certain accesses and elements of their business, they're incapable of functioning. He understands, this guy, say what you want about Trump, is he looks beyond the superficial, beyond the facade of these institutions, and looks to the foundations. And he figures out ways, and he's doing it at DOJ. We're covering it every day, memo by memo, undermining the foundations of the norms of these institutions.
Well, he sees this as a business, like which it is, right? And one of the things we have noticed about Donald Trump, when I look at what he's doing in terms of offense and defense. When he is on the defense, like he runs scared, he cries victim, right? But when he is playing offense, he is aggressive. He doesn't care what the facts are. He doesn't care about anything. He's just going to bulldoze his way to get whatever in desire that he wants, and that's what's happening with these law firms, all laying the predicate so that he can go after people like Jamie Raskin, people like Andrew Weissman, and others who are defenders of our democratic republic.
And the other thing I'd say is he did this to the test case of this was the Republican Party itself. What he's doing to the law firms is exactly what he did to the Republican Party in 2015 and 2016. At the very beginning, there was a lot of resistance and bravado against him, and eventually he wore them down, and he was able to exploit the divisions. I don't know the economic models of the law firm sufficiently enough to presume this, but I imagine that some of the firms that have the capacity to resist him perhaps aren't as exposed in the spaces that he's attacking. So I think he has an understanding of the vulnerabilities of his opposition that nobody who's currently a combatant has.
And so we circle back to the question, Congressman Raskin, that we constantly circle back to, which is which of these cases will end up before the Supreme Court? And if and when they end up before the Supreme Court, will the Supreme Court be ready to hold the line?
Well, I think so. An important signal came down last week when Chief Justice Roberts noted that the proper response to a district court decision that you disagree with is not to impeach the judge, much less malign the judge and contribute to this terrible climate of violence and threat and intimidation. The proper response to a district court decision you disagree with is to appeal the decision. And we've only had 15 judicial impeachments in all of American history, and it's always for something like taking bribes on the bench, corruption, stealing money from the court, habitual drunkenness, not even just 1 day or 2 days of drunkenness. But we've never had a judge who's been impeached for doctrinal differences with the court, much less for getting the legal doctrine right, which an overwhelming, if not unanimous number of these judges have done. I mean, their legal reasoning is just airtight. And that's why Donald Trump is so furious and outraged, and why, you know, all the king's men are running around talking about impeachment, because they can't contest what these judges have actually ruled. So they're coming to our committee next week, and they're going to, you know, have their big hearing on the rogue judges, because they're saying never before has a president seen so many of his executive orders struck down before. History's never seen a president engage in so much illegality before, especially in the first 100 days of his tenure. And so we're going to try to get at the substance of these cases while they go after the judges, including Judge Boasberg, who was first appointed to the bench by President Bush.
Congressman, what would be your counsel to these firms as they try to
deportations? And you make an actually quite unusual or unorthodox argument that there is a right of American citizens to hear these perspectives of foreign nationals in these graduate programs, in the academic environment. And so these deportations are actually a violation of the rights of American citizens. Why did you choose this argument?
Well, so first of all, we do argue that the deportations, the arrests and deportations of students are a violation of their rights. We make the argument that the government doesn't have the authority under the First Amendment, or the First Amendment restricts it from arresting and deporting people on the basis of viewpoints that the government doesn't like. But we also argue, as you say, that these arrests have implications for American citizens as well. And the plaintiffs in our suit are associations of university professors who assert that their American members are injured by the arrest and deportation of the students. And the complaint actually describes what the professors call a climate of fear and repression on campuses across the country, with non-citizens stepping back from political advocacy, not going to class, or not participating in political conversations.
Trump thinks of himself as a king, not only in the sense that he views himself as above criminal law, but also that he views himself as above the traditional way you pass legislation in the United States. Look, as much as we hate it, and as much as it's partially due to the broken system of the United States with the Senate being so unbalanced, the Republicans have a trifecta. Meaning that they can't just, break the Constitution, but if they want, and they can get their votes together, they can pass legislation. Right? But the thing is, they're not even trying to do that in most cases. Trump is being told by judges, you are not a king in 15th century England. Right? You are not a king. You are not a Saudi dictator. You're not. And so you can't just unilaterally abolish government departments. You can't just unilaterally fire people, entire departments of people. Now, if you want, and the judges are saying this, now if you want, you can put forward legislation to ban some of these departments, to limit them and to remove workers and to cut their budgets. You can do that. But you got to get your friggin' votes in. You're not a king, you're a president. Your pen has power, but it's not a scepter. It's a pen, right? And so Trump isn't doing that because he sees himself as a king, and also because he knows he doesn't have the votes. Because a lot of swing district Republicans don't want to put their name on such unpopular legislation. So Trump's like, I'll do it myself. But that's not working. He is not a king. The courts are telling him that, and so are great Democrats like Jamie Raskin.